We'll get started. The next item on the agenda is the Mayor's Monthly Report, and I shall open it up. And I said to councillors earlier on today that I wanted to note in the report that I've been appointed to the working group on representation, governance and accountability of new water services entities, and in consultation with Sam and others, note that a request to sign an MOU with other mayors' councils has been received regarding challenging the current water reform proposals, and request the Chief Executive to provide decision-making advice on the MOU at the next council meeting. And that ties in with when the next when the report back's coming on the LGNZ. So that's that. So I'm actually happy to move those as is, and I'll just pull up my report and speak to it. So well, I don't need to speak to the beginning part of it because I was speaking. Well, no, actually, I will speak to it because I just want to mention the significance of community-led initiatives around the vaccination program. And I think that the one thing that we learnt from the earthquakes was how significant it was to use existing structures, existing community groups, existing council structures, and build on those, you know, to use those because they've already got all of those connections. And look, honestly, Choice Aranui was a choice occasion. It really was well supported. They got people through, and Yanni and I both had the privilege of meeting Maria, who's pictured there with us with our masks on. We're completely unrecognisable, but she told us what it meant to have support for her and her family. She had her husband, and 5 kids. I think there were 7 of them, and getting their vaccines at the same time. And she was so nervous. She was pregnant and very nervous about getting a vaccine, and she was the first one to put out her arm and have a vaccine with her kids, you know. And it was a very powerful statement about how community groups, they know how to make their own communities feel comfortable. And I felt exactly the same when I went to Phillipstown the other day, when they were having a Phillipstown whānau day, but the whānau day was the purpose. There just happened to be vaccines available for those that wanted to take advantage of that service. So it was really good. And I see Celeste had her second vaccine. I'm actually at Aranui. I'm very disappointed that Phil Major isn't in the room because I got this amazing photograph of him literally in the air at the Manu Splash Pool at Te Pou Toi Toi Liverpool opening. But I did want to acknowledge Jana Johansson, who spoke, and actually I could have easily put their picture that appeared on Newsline, which had his daughter doing handstands in front of him. It was almost, you know, in line with it. But again, a fantastic community day, even with the restrictions of COVID. It really was fantastic. And I've done quite a few international engagements over the last wee while. I've acknowledged the death of Bill Wilmot, who's been an amazing contributor to our city ever since he arrived in the 70s. And I've got, I did a summary of chlorine because, to be blunt, I was sick to death of reading people, you know, particularly letters to the editor, and I've repeated that in my star column today. You know, people who should know better that we are not chlorinating our water because we've taken our eye off the ball, or previous councils. The rules have changed. We have constantly lifted our game to meet the challenges that have been put in front of us. So, but that was covered off yesterday, and I don't need to go over that again. So I'm happy to move the receipt of my own report with the 2 additional recommendations. Sarah, second. Pauline.
Yeah, thanks, Leanne. Could I ask you a couple of questions about the working group?
Sure.
Because I had a look at the DIA terms of reference on that, and I think the group will report back to the Minister by the 7th of March.
Yes.
But at the same time, the group is tasked with reviewing and analysing the original proposal approach.
Yep.
Also, the feedback from local authorities.
Yep.
And alternative models from local authorities.
Correct. Which is
the member,
what I
the group
think
member,
our book
which is you, cannot act on behalf of the organisation, and you must maintain confidentiality of matters discussed. And you'll feed back to the Water Services steering group in the meantime, but you won't be reporting back to the council before it goes to the Minister?
No, I'm not representing the council on this. And
so we don't get to see any of the work being done.
No, you will, because if you read on further, it talks about the way that it will be open and transparent, and that its work will be made available. It just means that I don't personally report that to people. It will be reported from the working group.
So it's open and transparent after the work has been done?
Well, no, during the course of the work being done, because if I'd known that you were going to raise this question, then I would have opened up the terms of reference. Because
I've just been pondering it over lunchtime and thinking that, in actual fact, I know the idea of the working group is not to actually change anything structurally about the entities. It's really just to make them more deliverable and get more councils on board. But I'm just concerned.
I think that is completely unfair. If you think that I'm going on there because I think that it might be just quite a nice little exercise to tinker around the edges, I have the right to leave this working group any time that I give written notice to do so. So I'm going in there with an open mind. I actually think that those issues have actually been put on the table so that we can analyse them, go through them, work through them, and if we come up with a set of proposals as a group that enable me to stay on with confidence that we have that we could come back and recommend that to a range of councils, then fine. But if it doesn't do that, then I don't have to stay on that group.
And do you think then that March the 7th is long enough?
Can I make the point too that I asked to go on this group? So there's been talk about this group for quite a long time. Newsroom has run a number of stories, and they've always talked about Phil Goff being on it. I've always said the second largest city or the largest city in the South Island needs to be on there as well, just simply to have that perspective brought to the table. And that's what they've asked each one of us to do, is to bring the perspective of the kind of council that we represent to the table. Yeah,
so it's a huge amount of work. Do you think March the 7th is a long enough time frame to get that done?
Well, I mean, it depends on whether it is a lot of work. They're introducing legislation. I would imagine that if we are to have any real influence in terms of the structural elements, and they've asked us specifically to look at governance, representation and accountability, then I would expect us to be in a position to sign that off by that time. That's what I would expect. There's a very good chair who is well known to this council because he was the person that took over our building consents department when it lost its accreditation just a matter of months before I became the mayor.
And it should also be, he has a huge integrity.
Yes.
And he could have done, I think deep down the government wanted him to do something, but he stayed straight and narrow, focused exactly what the best for the city was, and I was really impressed with him.
Yeah. No, I was very impressed with him as well. So you know, the thing is that I want to make a difference. It's kind of last chance to have that degree of influence. This is the group that should have been set up right at the get-go, to be blunt. And it did actually need a range of mayors from across the country with the two cities absolutely up front and centre for that, because we are the basis for the you know, for the models that were proposed as alternative models. So, but all we're being asked to do here is just to note that I've been appointed to this working group, but it's not my function to report back to this group. No. Yep. Jimmy.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah. Regarding your particular to tribute to the Professor Bill Moore.
Yeah.
I'm not sure regarding to all the council, the existing policy or bylaw, you know, if someone is not an elected member, like a mayor or councillor, if he or she pass away, but actually this person, a greater contribution to our city, whether we have any, I'm not sure, like, you know, we did have like a 1 minute silence, etc. You know, I don't know whether we have this policy or bylaw, you know, have a assessment this one or not. Yes, but yours is very good, you know,
if you would like to do that.
No, I don't know. I just want to ask. Yeah.
If you would like that, I'm perfectly happy. If I could invite everyone to stand for 1 minute silence in memory of Bill
Professor.
Wilmot, served our city so well.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Jimmy, for asking us to do that. Are there any other questions?
Yes, I just, Leanne, what you wrote about the chlorination, sort of the whole context and history, is there any quick way that we can get a copy of that to share? Because I've tried to just copy it from this and it's almost impossible.
Sure.
Yeah, it'd be great to have that as some sort of an attachment somewhere.
Yep, no, that's fine.
It's really good.
Yeah, I've tried. I mean, it probably could do with a couple of things added to it, because the Water Services Act has now coming into effect on Monday. The exemption process comes in on the 1st of March. But I think what it was designed for, and it was my reaction to people who should know better, saying that we had, or that justifying the reform of our entire 3 water system. By saying that we had somehow successive councils had been neglectful. That was the actual phrase, neglect of successive councils. It's just not true.
No.
Not when it comes to drinking water. Absolutely refute that. And I'm still infuriated by the comments. But perhaps if I circulate my Star column as well, because you could link to that.
Okay, good idea.
All right.
Thanks.
That's only 250 words. I've probably used too many words for this one.
No, I think it's really good. It's very helpful.
All right. Well, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. That's carried. Thank you.